Dip podcast.
Oh, beautiful, man. What is up, people? Welcome back to the Slip and Dip podcast, episode number 73. Coming at you on a nice Sunday evening. I am Matthew Wells. Alongside me, as always, Kendrick Johnson. What's going on, my man? How you doing this fine Sunday evening?
And Cowboys did their thing, still on that cowboy high. Did their thing. When your team surprised you, it's a good week.
Yeah.
I thought they were going to get the win in an ugly way, but it was a beautiful win. 47. On to the next one.
No doubt, no doubt. We are here to, of course, we want to give a shout out to the Cowboys for an exceptional performance and a performance we thought we would see week in and week out this week. But finally, everything came together for the boys. 500 football, though. Well, let's see what it is next week. But
sticking to the MMA boxing thing,
exactly.
Hats off to
That's
Terrence
why we're all
Crawford. Hats off to Terrence Crawford for getting another big win. Terrence Bud Crawford did his thing, got a late stoppage, 12th round TKO. The guy he fought was a very competitive fighter, but at the end of the day, his mind wanted him to do something his body couldn't do.
Yeah, I mean, this fight was over as soon as it started. We only
no, I wouldn't say that. It didn't get over to about mid rounds.
I mean,
he was competitive the first 5 or 6.
We knew Terrence Crawford was going to win the fight. At the end of the day, that's what I was trying to get to, really. But yeah, I mean, like you said, it was competitive for a little bit. But I mean, we knew what it was. Terrence Crawford was always going to get his hand raised, and that's exactly how it went down. At the end of the day, Terrence Crawford, man, it's time for Crawford and Spence, but I don't know. I don't know if it's going to happen. What's it going to take for that to happen, Kendrick? What's it going to take?
I text messaged Earl last night. He said he's worried about his side of the street. Exactly what he said.
I saw Bob Aaron saying some crazy stuff last night. So.
Oh, what he said? I didn't see that.
Saying something about, like, I forget. I don't have the exact quotes pulled up or who was actually quoting him on Twitter last night, but saying that, like, Errol Spence is the only elite fighter, like, you know, not under him. And, of course, he was promoting up guys that he promotes and, you know, basically saying him and Danny Garcia is not elite and stuff like that. Like, really, bro? Really?
I still have a hard time thinking. Errol Spence is the best welterweight in the world, without a doubt. But I still think that Terrence Crawford could run the gambit of the Showtime Sean Porters. Shout out to our man Sean P, who will have something to say about that. Mr. Keith Thurman, even Danny Garcia. I don't think he can run the gambit. He could beat 1 or 2, but he could not run the gambit. I really, because people don't realize Terrence Crawford is not a natural welterweight. Sooner or later, that's going to get his ass in trouble. It's either when he sees Mr. Spence or before he sees Mr. Spence. It's going to catch up to him.
Absolutely. So, we'll get back to the MMA things in here in just a second. We'll recap some Bellator. But if you are not watching on YouTube, but if you are watching on YouTube, you see the lineup of the guests on the screen right above there, if I can point in the right direction. We've got Michelle Waterson on the show, friend of the show, making her return to the show to talk about her win at UFC 229 and all the craziness that went on and everything coming up for her. We also have Miss Andrea KGB Lee, very controversial subject last time we had her on the show, but she returns to the show, talks about some more uplifting things, and she's got a fight coming up in December, so we're looking forward to that. And then to close out the show, we have Mr. Anatomy of the Fighter himself, the Will Harris, to talk his film career and all of his perspective from all the craziness of UFC 229.
Very good interview. Very good interview.
Yeah. So, yeah, let's hop back into some more of the news that went down this past weekend. Bellator 207 and 208, they had their tournaments progress, their Grand Prix progressed a little bit. And what we saw on Friday night was basically Ryan Bader going out there and doing Ryan Bader things against Matt Mitrione, got it done. And basically squashed him from beginning to end. Squashed Matt Mitrione. 10-8 rounds, every single round. It was just dominance. And then the next night we saw Chael Sonnen versus Fedor, and it went down exactly as everybody expected it to. Chael did get some takedowns, and he looked competitive for a minute, but the very first exchange, Chael got dropped. So we knew it wasn't going to be a long fight. But Chael showed some heart. That weird moment, Chael had Fedor's back. He had the choke in, and he tried to do the rollover to flip him into a rear naked choke, and that just didn't work out for him. That kind of spelled the beginning of the end. But what we end up with is Fedor and Ryan Bader to basically crown a new Bellator heavyweight champion in January. So who are you liking in that one?
I got Ryan Bader. I like the young, more athletic, hungry guy. Fedor days of past him. It's not 2008 no more.
It's not. It is not. And I will just say this: Ryan Bader at heavyweight is a different animal. Ryan Bader at light heavyweight, still top 5 light heavyweight in the world, and that's in the UFC.
You think he'll get this belt when his Bellator contract? You think UFC pay some money to get him back?
They should. They should have never let him go in the first place.
But
hey, he might be eating pretty well over at Bellator, especially with 50 Cent coming in and wanting to throw millions of dollars at guys. Just because he's 50 Cent, he's got money in the bank. I don't know what's the depth of that whole business arrangement, but it's kind of strange. So, yeah, man. He's looking incredible at heavyweight, too. It's like he hadn't lost a step at heavyweight.
It's like without the weight cut, he's even quicker.
Yeah, exactly. And if anybody's ever seen Ryan Bader in person, Ryan Bader is not a small person by any means.
No.
Like, yeah, of course, like, you see big guys at 205. You know, there's huge, like, you think of the John Joneses and the DCs and these guys that fight at 205. Ryan Bader is just as big, if not bigger than those dudes. Like, he's a massive human. And he went out there and just ragdolled another big heavyweight, Matt Mitrione, former NFL player. Like, it's crazy. Crazy, man. I like Ryan Bader to win it as well. I agree with you there. 100%. So, our worlds kind of collided, man. Our not so much business interest worlds, but our sports fandom world and our MMA world collided today when Conor McGregor showed up at the Cowboys game.
You never get to old hanging out with billionaires in his case, so I ain't mad at him. And Pop said I talk about people like Ali and the Cowboy brothers, but I think the pound for pound manager you in your corner is Ali Attar.
Yeah. I think he, Conor may have showed up with a couple of cases of Proper 12 with him. I don't know. Hopefully, there were some business conversations going on about a potential fight in the near future at Japan. That would be amazing. That would be incredible. See Conor out here. If you're watching on YouTube, we got the tweet pulled up out there.
And the way the Cowboys responded to his pep talk.
Yeah, Dak gave him some love in the post-game interview, saying, I don't know if it was Conor McGregor or what, but we went out there and just amped it up, He hit the Billy Strut too. Yes, that was amazing. Dak hit the Billy Strut. Where is it? Right here. Here it goes. That's so good. The Cowboys had a fantastic game, and of course, Conor McGregor being there is so weird. And then Bruce Buffer introduced Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes tonight as well. It's kind of weird. Just MMA is taking over the game. You can't hide away from MMA anymore. It's everywhere. We're here. MMA is here. It's everywhere. What are you gonna do about it? Nothing. You're gonna do absolutely nothing. Just enjoy the ride. Buy the pay-per-view. Subscribe to the YouTube channels like ours. and ride the wave. Ride the wave while it's here. Other breaking news that we just got broken to us, actually with Will Harrison in an interview, that Artem Lobov is fighting Michael Johnson in UFC Moncton, which is kind of crazy because Artem Lobov was damn near about to be released from the UFC or something like that. Who knows how that whole situation's playing out, but I mean, I am interested to see if the UFC calls Khabib's bluff. Khabib threatened to leave the UFC if they kick his boy out. What do you think?
Okay, we know business-wise, they're not going to do that because they need him for the rematch, first of all.
Of course.
Because Conor has to fulfill that second fight from the Mayweather fight. So they got to have that on the table. And do they really want those problems that they... Like now it's been kind of outside the UFC. They kind of, for this situation that gone all the way it has, the UFC hands is kind of clean. The sport's at an all-time popularity.
Yeah. Yes.
All the legal stuff has nothing to do with them. All the sanction stuff has nothing to do with them. So why get your hands dirty when you don't have to? And you got stuff that you couldn't even ask for free.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Like the promotion at the beginning is incredible. But I mean, on the other side of the street, you got 50 Cent offering Khabib $2 million to fight in Bellator. Putin laughing at that for 50 Cent. He said, "I double that." Right. Exactly.
Yeah, that's not gonna work out.
It's crazy. It's crazy because 50 Cent's serious too, according to his social media post. He's like, "I'm serious." Could be posted that up. I don't know. We need to find out more about this arrangement 50 Cent's got with Bellator.
More about this arrangement.
Yeah, you don't just be throwing millions of dollars around if you're not getting some back in return. Especially a businessman like 50 Cent, you know.
Oh, there's an ulterior motive. You know that.
Of course. But yeah, that would be absolutely insane. Like just the hypothetical potential of that. Of Khabib being in one of the biggest pay-per-views for the promotion and then walking away. Of course, he wouldn't be out of a contract either unless his contract's up, which I don't think it is. Usually guys at that stage, they re-up their contracts pretty big for multiple fights, you know. I think like Conor's contract is like for what, 8 more fights?
That was 6, yeah, something like that.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But I do really think he's going to fulfill it.
No, I don't. I think he's got 2 more in him.
Huh?
I think he's got 2 more.
2 more, yeah.
I
said 3. I'm about to put a bet out there.
It depends though, man, because like you know, like he says, like he's truly a guy that just loves to fight. So, hey.
So he's 30 now. Does he fight past 32? 30? He does not fight past 33.
Yeah, I agree with that. I know he wants the Khabib rematch, which they're gonna do because money. And I know he wants the Diaz fight.
That's all he had. Boom, he cashed. He don't even need the belt. He's bigger than the belt.
Yeah, he doesn't need belts. He doesn't even need wins.
He's that WWE character that like CM Punk. If CM Punk want to come back to WWE today, he don't need no belts. He don't need to win. He just needs to show up and put on the show.
Yeah, 100%. Enough Conor McGregor talk. Let's get into the rest of the show. We have 3 fantastic interviews coming up for you guys. Michelle Waterson will be first, followed by Andrea Lee, and then the incredible interview with Will Harris talking about all of his journeys in filmmaking with Anatomy of a Fighter. You guys are going to enjoy these quite a bit, and we'll catch you guys next week, episode 74. No more UFC next weekend either, so it's going to be a slower weekend for events and stuff, but hey, we'll have some more great content for you guys interview-wise and all that good stuff as usual. So enjoy the rest of this, and we'll catch you next week. Please subscribe on YouTube, on iTunes, leave reviews, please. Share with your friends, all that good stuff. You know what it is. We'll see you next week. Peace.
Please welcome to the Slip and Dip Podcast. Our friend of the show, coming fresh off her win at UFC 229 over Felice Herring, Miss Michelle Karate Hottie. Congrats on the big win, Michelle.
Thank you so much. It's nice to come home with the victory on such a huge card.
Is it different coming off as a win as a win? Is it a little bit different with so much happening and then after everybody's talking about it for all the craziness and stuff? So does that put even like so people will remember that card, or is it just like it's another win, another day at the office for you?
I would say it's a little bit of both. You know, you have to take each fight as they come. Obviously, a win is good. But a win on such a huge card like that is even better because there's more eyes on you. You're able to really take advantage of the platform. You know, my social media handles have grown. I've been able to showcase a lot of my skills around a lot of other eyes. You know, people that have never necessarily seen me before.
Was it safe to say that you were very comfortable on that big stage? We saw you basically imitating Khabib and Conor and just having fun throughout the week. Was it a fun week for you, or that's how you are usually during fight week? Because we know you have a very laid-back personality just naturally.
I kept telling myself to embrace the moment because it was such a huge spotlight. And I know if I didn't go out there and just have fun and enjoy the moment that I would regret it for the rest of my life. So I just told myself to embrace the moment and enjoy it, you know?
Yeah, talking about the fight itself, like this is the second time, you know, second time in a row rather, you fought a girl that was, you know, larger than you frame-wise. And it continues to amaze me. You know, I've seen it before, and then yet again, it was like, you know, you told us last time you were on the show, you know, your technique is so superior than these other girls. And then when you see the fight play out, like when you got that takedown on Felice, I remember tweeting out right in that moment, I was like, that's exactly what Michelle was talking about right there. So it's like, you know, we get to see that play out in action and not just, you know, be it like words that you're saying is really cool to see.
Yeah, it's cool to actually go out there and execute my my technique as well. I feel like a lot of people look past me or make me the underdog because of my size, but you don't like size doesn't win fights. Muscles don't win fights. Like I'm technical. I have a good eye for openings, and the truth is I mean, I got size too. I just carry my weight in my legs. And my butt.
how do you handle that with the fact that you're a mom, you're an elite fighter, and you kind of looked at, I won't say it's a sex symbol, but it plays in a role into the karate hottie. Is that just something you're embracing? Because you balance all three of them very well.
Yeah, I think it's important for people to understand that at the end of the day we are humans, and we're not just one-dimensional. We have layers. Everybody has layers. I like you said, I'm not just a mom. I'm a mom. I'm a fighter. I'm a wife. I embrace my nickname of the Karate Hottie, and these are all parts of me, and I should be able to embrace those all of those parts of me proudly.
Yeah, 100%, and that definitely comes through. I mean, it's like we've seen a lot recently, and the talk about fighters branding themselves. I think we kind of mentioned this with you last time, like with DC and his famous now famous quote. Just stay broke if you guys aren't willing to embrace that side of your game. Because I mean that's just as important as the fights. Like if you're not selling yourself to the fans, like why should we care if you go out there and get a win? Like if you
exactly.
So like I think it's really cool, like not only to see that whole part of it come together, but like what you got going on with your Instagram, all your other stuff you got going on. I mean, you really understood that, I think, early on too, which is pretty important.
Yeah, I think it's true. I think you have to kind of let people into your world and let them kind of along for the ride, because then they become invested and they kind of they feel like they're a part of your journey, and they really are. A lot of these fans are diehards, and they follow your journey. And when they become a part of your journey, then they're not the bandwagoners. They care about you as a person and not just as a fighter.
Right.
Absolutely. So what is next for you? That's always the question we get after every fight. Sometimes it comes too quick, like you can't even soak in the moment. There's always that what's next? But having a few days to soak it in, what's the plans for the rest of the year?
Well, I've been telling everybody, my daughter really sacrifices a lot when I'm in fight camp. She's a trooper, and I love her for it. She's always been in my corner. But there's a lot of things that she sacrifices when I'm training, because I can't do things with her, like the small things, homework, take her to school. Sometimes I miss some of her recitals at school or practices. Even like holidays and stuff, because I'm training. So I really want to just take advantage of this free time that I have and spend Halloween with her and Thanksgiving, and just be mommy for a little bit without having to diet and be hangry and be focused on the fight.
She said hangry. What adjustment did you make between the first and the second round? Because it seemed like once you make that adjustment, Felice had no answer for you.
We've been working a lot, especially with Felice, because she's a counter fighter, on not getting too excited and being in that place where she can counter. So me just being patient the first round and picking my shots, I mean, it's really hard for me to do because I get excited and I want to go in there and I just want to fight. But trying to be the smarter fighter and frustrate Felice and get her off her game so that I can win the fight. That was the game plan going in, is not being there for her to counter and frustrating her and taking control of the fight, which I think I was able to capitalize and do a great job of. And then, once I got her frustrated and once I felt like I was commanding the fight, then I could just take it where I wanted to go and be the aggressor.
Gotcha. Here's a random question that had nothing to do with the fight. I know you're big on Instagram and stuff. How come you don't tweet? I see you haven't tweeted since July, like fight week.
I'm so bad at tweeting. I mean, I don't know. Instagram's my jam, and it's hard to even keep up with that, like, let alone thinking about all the other social media handles. I know that I need to get on it, but right now my main focus is Instagram, and I'd really like to start trying to doing tutorials and how-tos and stuff like that for my martial arts. Get back to giving back some knowledge.
Gotcha.
Yeah, 100%. Instagram is a lot of people's jam. As you said, that seems to be the hot spot. It's tough to keep up with, though. It's too much work to grow your followers. You got to do like the live stories every day. That's too much for me. But I mean, I don't know. It seems come natural to some people, though. Are there any incentives for you for doing Instagram? Like, is there some sponsor out there that's maybe tossing you a few bucks, something like that, for keeping up with it?
Of course, there's tons of incentives. Since the UFC did away with sponsorships for the fighters, doing that Reebok deal, a lot of the fighters, we have to figure out different ways to get endorsements and things like that. And social media is the next avenue, and it's a really great avenue if you know how to utilize it. So yeah, I mean, you have access to fans that choose to follow you, and that's a powerful thing,
Mm-hmm. Right. Absolutely. And I don't know if you spoke on this or not. I haven't seen an interview in which you did talk about it, but obviously at the very end of the evening was an unfortunate event unfold. So what were your thoughts as you were watching that whole post Conor Khabib brawl play out?
It's crazy, we're human, we get emotional. So Conor's at fault for doing the whole bus situation. Khabib's at fault for jumping out into the crowd. I don't think two wrongs make a right, like DC said. When fans are coming to the fights, I don't think they expect to get in fights themselves. So I think that would be the only problem that I have with that whole situation is, like, the fans, they're coming to pay, they're paying to come and be entertained, and I don't think that they're expecting to actually have to throw bows themselves. So, but like I said, emotions were high. Conor did dig at Khabib pretty deep, and there are some people you just don't want to piss off, and Khabib is one of those people.
Yeah, I guess to me, though, it seems like everything should have been settled right when you just beat him down for 4 rounds. I don't know. To me, it seems like it's
exactly. Yeah, my husband and I are talking about that because I think that like afterwards, we ran into a lot of even a lot of the Irish fans. Like they accepted Conor's defeat. They're like, yeah, like beat him fair and square. I think he would have won a lot more fans over by just beating Conor the way he did and not going crazy after that. I think he would have won a lot more fans doing that.
But Sha, I keep telling my co-host over here that people realize Khabib and Conor are about that life, which is an element that's not really known in MMA, but it's known in other parts of the world.
Right? Yes, crazy.
I think I saw some footage. Did you roll with John like a couple weeks, like a couple weeks before leading up to your fight?
With John Jones?
Yeah.
John's in the gym always training and stuff like that. I don't really roll with him because I don't think it would do me any good. He's like way too long and like.
Yeah, I saw you roll with somebody way bigger than you. I'm like, wow, did I see what I think I just saw?
Yeah, I mean, it probably would be fun to do, but usually just like training alongside John, just the energy that he brings to the gym is motivation enough, All
right, I got you.
Absolutely. Has there been any difference with him, because he's got that title fight announced now? I mean, after this layoff, he's coming right back into a title fight. So has there been any, increased anticipation for that?
No, John is the reason why John is so good is because he's just very like mentally strong. Like never his mental strength never sways. So regardless of what's going on in his life, he's always strong mentally.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I got to ask you about one other thing that's been on the women's side that's been kind of controversial recently. You had the title fight announced between Joanna and Valentina, and then Joanna gets pulled off in favor of Sarge, and then all right, we're gonna go back to Joanna versus Valentina again, and it's just like it seems like there's no communication with any of these things going on between the fighters and the promotion, and it seems kind of like I don't know, it seems like a unfavorable spot to be in when it's just like your fights are getting shifted around and nobody's really telling you what's going on, and even though you had like Joanna said she had a contract signed and then the fight gets taken away and now she gets it back again. Has anything like that happened to you in the UFC, or has it been smooth sailing for you for the most part?
Nothing like that has happened, but here's the thing, like at the end of the day, UFC, like their job is to try to put the cards together, and they know that Joanna and Valentina is going to sell, so they were just trying to save a card is really what they were trying to do. And I think Joanna made the perfect decision in not taking that because, yes, it is entertainment, and they know that they're going to be a draw, but at the end of the day, a win's important, and if you don't take the fight seriously, you try to just take the fight without fully preparing, then you're going to go into the fight already, mind fucked, I guess. Like,
For sure.
So Joanna did a great job at not taking that and kind of sticking to her guns in that sense. And, I think that's why she's smart with her career, and I think it's a good idea that she chose to move up to 125. But you don't take a title fight lightly, and so I respect Joanna for saying that she wasn't gonna take that fight on short notice, and she stuck to her guns.
Yeah, 100%, and that kind of also plays into the other thing that's been happening a lot that we've been seeing, like these backup fights, in case of somebody falls out of a main event. Like, you've been training for weeks for a specific guy, and then all of a sudden on the 24 hours before you could be fighting somebody different. Would you find yourself in a position to say no to that if it was for a main event or a potential title shot?
It really just depends on the situation, the timing of it all, the benefit that it would give me for my career. It really does depend on the situation. If I were to make a choice like that,
How much would finances weigh in the decision? Because to me, y'all prize fighters, so it shouldn't really matter. That's what you do. You fight for prize. So if they increase the prize, that should increase the odds, regardless of who it is, right? Or
if they do what?
If they increase the money and it's a fight that gets you closer to a title shot, and there's no reason not to fight, even if it's on 24-hour notice, right? Like if you like,
yeah. You're right. You're right in that sense. But then you also have to think about the other, like the flip side of it, because a fighter's trajectory after a loss is way different than a fighter's trajectory after a win. If you lose a fight, even it doesn't matter if you take it on short notice. You still lose the fight. That means you get paid half your purse. That means you get knocked down the rankings. That means that the next time you fight, you might not have that chance or opportunity again. So. It's not like when you're playing football. It's okay if you lose one game, you have another game next week. Like fighters in the top 10 of the division usually only fight between 2 to 4 times a year.
Right. Props on the football analogy.
Absolutely.
Props the football analogy.
Gotta go Cowboys. Let's go. Yep.
Did you see Connor at the Cowboy game today? What'd you think about all that craziness? What the fuck do you think about that?
Connor's just living his best life. He's just
right. He hanging out with billionaires.
Yeah, he's not tripping. He's just enjoying life and creating a legacy for his family, which is the goal for everybody.
Right. How crazy you think that would be to fight at the Cowboys where the Cowboys play at. If they had a card there, how big a deal would it be that for you to get on there, knowing how big and how historic it is?
That would be amazing. My husband and I went and watched the Cowboys play at that stadium, and just the energy, the sound, the feeling of just the whole area erupting. It's amazing. That would definitely be a card that I would want to fight on for sure.
Yeah, I hope that something like that happens in the near future. That'd be amazing. And I think like for people that haven't been in that arena or in that stadium or that little mini city in there, like I don't know where you guys were sitting, but like if you're on that lower level and you're like looking up during a game, you're like, oh, those are people, those tiny ants way the hell up there that you need binoculars to see. You know, it's crazy how big that place is, and like you were saying, it gets stupid loud in there, especially when the Cowboys are winning, which is pretty rare, but it happens.
Yeah.
No doubt. Hopefully there were some conversations that went down today, between Connor and Jerry Jones. They were like, we could probably do a fight here. I'd have to be on the card, of course, but hey,
Connor's right. I mean, I don't know, like, the mystique of his invincibility is pretty much gone at this point, but he's still pretty entertaining to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he's at a point in his career where he can take a few L's, like kind of like you were saying earlier, like with the fighter trajectory and everything like that on the way to a title is very important. But for the guy that's like on top of everything when it comes to numbers and things like that, I think he could take a couple of L's and still be all right. Would you agree?
Yeah. The point in his career where he can pick and choose who he wants to fight, and whoever he decides to fight, it's going to be a draw.
Right. Hey, tell me this, Michelle. Besides, we know how Ronda was. What do you think it's going to take for the UFC, other than catching lightning in a bottle, to get a female that did basically how Ronda, faces, we just kind of alluded to, when you fight Conor or Ronda, your life changed. What did they have to do to create a star like that on the women's side? You think they catch lightning in a bottle again like they did with Ronda?
It's gonna take a special person, and there has to be magic, and the stars have to align, and people have to fall in love with the story. That's what it is. And I think that's why, after my post-fight interview, I just threw it out there that I want to be the first champion for the UFC who's a mother. Because I think that a lot of people can relate to that, and hopefully people can rally behind me, and we can go get this belt together. Hey,
just for a record, I have a female friend that don't know nothing about fighting. She asked me, I know you? I said, yeah, she's a very nice lady. She's a friend of our show. She goes, that's awesome, because she wants to be a mom and to be a champion. So, hey, I know somebody that doesn't even watch the sport that was touched by your message.
That's awesome. That's great to hear.
I think that would be incredible. It would be special. We've talked to you for a few years now and following your journey, and I think getting into that title fight, getting that strap around your waist, would kind of bring in a lot of inspiration and possibly, kind of what Kendrick was talking about there. Maybe grow that next audience, be that next big draw. Michelle Waterson with the title. Michelle Waterson, UFC flyweight champion or strawweight champion. Sounds pretty good.
Yeah, I like the sound of that too.
This is a random question: if they were to ever get added to UFC, would you go down again, or is it your body's too used to 115 now?
Well, I know a lot of people have been asking me about that, and I'm not going to say no, because if if the door is open and they offer me an enticing deal, then you never know, So it's you just never know with the fight game. I do really enjoy fighting at strawweight because I can focus more on my training camp. I can focus more on my opponent rather than having to focus on cutting weight. And I like that aspect of it.
Oh, there it is. Michelle, thanks for joining the show again.
Appreciate you for your time, buddy. We greatly appreciate it. We've been ducking and dodging for 2 weeks.
I know. I'm so sorry. I feel so bad. I know we've been playing phone tag for a couple of weeks, but I'm glad I finally got to chat with you guys. Hey,
you had more business. You had to handle Felice, so we were pulling for you.
Okay.
All right, Michelle. Thanks for coming on again. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Have a good one.
Please welcome back to the Slip and Nail Podcast for the second time, making her second appearance, Miss Andrea KGB Lee, one of the best UFC women's flyweights in the world, and she'll be taking on Jessica Rose Clark at UFC on Fox 31 December 15th. So I guess you already in training camp, or you gonna ease into it?
Well, technically, I have been training. But I'm gonna start the grind next week.
Gotcha. What was that? What does that consist of? Just training, like day-to-day stuff, or was like you already working on your diet and all that stuff?
I mean, I'm gonna work on my diet, and I'm gonna crack down on my diet, and I'm gonna have more of a routine schedule, and I'm gonna grind more. So a lot of more intense training. I'm picking it up. I mean, you know, you don't want to like grind the whole time you're in fight camp because you don't want to peak too soon. So I'll turn it up. I'll turn it up, in the last, I don't know, like 3 weeks out, 4 weeks out, but yeah, so I'm just talking about like schedule and diet and just more focus on and stuff like that.
So what do you walk around at of curiosity?
Depends on between 140 and 145.
Gotcha.
Okay. Not a whole lot to get down from, compared to some people in this game with their crazy weight cuts, but it's So how's it been for you? I mean, these past few months. I mean, obviously we've known, we had you on the show last time, a lot of controversial things, and that video is still tearing up the internet, it seems, and we've gotten some crazy comments from it. So how's life been from you since that moment?
It's just a whirlwind, really. There's just been a lot of stuff that's been going on, and I'm aware that you and everybody else, in the MMA community have heard. So just dealing with a lot of personal stuff, trying to get through and trying to figure out, where I'm going to go now,
Yeah.
I mean,
Sure. It's a tough thing, and I think the crazy thing about our last conversation that we had with you was that most of the comments were people expecting us to get on air and just like start attacking you. Like we're trying to ask you questions and figure out what's going on. It's like it's so strange. Like this MMA community at times can be a little weird. We're trying to figure out how you're feeling, like your position on things. Like we're not here to attack anybody and like throw you under the bus or anything like that. Like we didn't know what was going on. Like we have the one picture that got out and surfaced everything, and people came out with the pitchforks hard. So
yeah. And they do,
Yeah.
It's anytime there's something to talk about, like, I mean, people just love to, I guess, bring other people down, I mean, saying that I'm not deserving of a UFC contract because of particular things. I don't want to hear that part again. But I don't even want to say the word. But
right.
But it's just crazy, But I mean, I've gotten through that, and I've gotten on to some, other more serious matters. And that is, to me, everything that's happened, between me and my husband, Donnie. I mean, I didn't want that to get out into the news like it did. I'm very upset and angry that the entire, well, I say, but everybody who knows of me in the MMA community and who watch the UFC and who, read the updates and stuff and just read all those articles. It's embarrassing, and I would have preferred to have kept all of that my personal, private business. I mean, that's my life, and the way that it got out in the media, it just really kind of sucked.
For sure. For sure.
And then not only that, I mean, like, because I didn't want to talk about it. That's why I stayed off the media. That's why I stayed off social media. and interviews, but then people kept contacting my friend Andy, and I you know, even though after I told her I didn't want anything to be discussed, I didn't want any interviews to be done, I didn't want anything out there, you know, but you know, freaking people still contacted her, and you know, and she did say some things that I would have preferred things not to have been said, you know, because you know, it's just hard for me because my little girl, you know, I mean, Donnie and I, we have a daughter together, and regardless of everything that happened, he's still her dad, and him and I and his family, we are still going to have to cope with each other. We're going to get along for the sake of Ainsley, and hopefully we can be friends, you know. I mean, I'm a forgiving person, and, you know, a lot of the stuff that the media, things that Andy said and twist it to sell their story, you know. I was sick.
I guess just to kind of cap off the whole situation that we were talking about, can you say that you're in a better place now than what you were, you know, when everything, you know, hit the news and everything that you didn't want to get out and didn't want to talk about? Are you in a better place now?
I am in a better place now. You know, I'm still trying to figure things out. I'm working on my fight camp. I'm fixing to go down to Tim Crater's at Gladiator Academy in Lafayette. I'm going to be getting a lot of work in there, and I think that's where I'm going to do most of my training camp at. I'm still going to be training and working out in Shreveport too, but I think that it's probably me go off, clear my head, and focus on just training. You know, whenever I'm here in town, it's like I have so many other things that I'm just so concerned about. So I think that it's probably better for me to go. And it's only 4 hours away. I'll be able to be there Monday through Thursday, and I'll come back home and I'll get to be with my daughter, you know, through the weekend. You know, so that's my plan.
Of course, every fight's a big fight. How big a deal is to have another dominant performance and try to catch that check and get you another fight of the night bonus coming up in December? Get you some early Christmas money.
That's what I'm aiming for. I wanted to get that fight of the night bonus. I think that Jessica Rose Clark and I have the ability. I know I'm in a fighting, and I don't know if it to me 2 times in a row, but it would be. You know, I'm going to strive for that. I'm going to try to be as exciting as I possibly can and secure the win at the same time.
Absolutely, absolutely. And, you know, she's coming off of a loss, man. How many of her fights have you watched? Like, have you started game filming on her yet? Or is that going to be a thing that you do once you know, ramp up camp, like you said, here in a couple weeks?
I've seen her fight. I'm a big supporter of her, and, you know, I respect her as a fighter. You know, I'm always cool for her every time that she fights. But obviously, you know, now that we're fighting each other, you know, I want to win. But I have, yeah. But to answer that, yeah, I've seen her fight, and I'm going to watch more footage as soon as fight camp starts.
Okay.
Which week.
Okay. Is there anything that you've seen so far that you know that stands out that, like, hey, I got to watch out for this, or, you know, is there anything like in her game plan or in her game that you see that you can exploit? I mean, obviously, I don't expect you to tell us every detail, but is there something that you may have an edge on already?
Well, I know that she has a heavy right hand, and she likes to come forward. She I don't know. She comes forward in spurts. I mean, she's well-rounded. She really is. She's well-rounded. She always stands and bangs. And I feel like, you know, it's this, her and I are, you know, our matchup, this match will most likely be really exciting. I mean, I don't see how we could be boring. I don't want to say everything that I think, you know, because I don't.
Can't divulge all the secrets. Yeah, of course not.
Yeah. I mean, like, I have my opinions on, you know, I know what I'm gonna do. I mean, I think I know what you think you know what you're gonna do until you get in there. Of course, you have a game plan, and then the game plan changes sometimes. So, and that's how I am. I'm not the type to get stuck on a particular game plan. But I do game plan, but you've been there, and then you end up in a position, and then all of a sudden you're like, wow, I feel really good in this position. Better, I'm kind of like in my fight with Veronica. I mean, like, her and I.
Okay, you started to break up again. I'm not sure if you moved back into a different spot, but you're starting to break up there again at the end. But yeah, I mean,
Darn it. Where did you miss me? What did you not hear?
Just like the last couple of sentences. Everything else was good.
I said the game plan for any fight, but things change when you're in there. My last fight was Veronica Macedo. I had planned on standing and being with her, but then clinched, and I felt so much stronger than her, and I just felt like my tie clinch was so much better, and I knew that was where I was going to win. So I went from striking to just out wrestling her in the clinch and like beating her up there and then trying to take her down, and then I mean, the game plan changes sometimes, and I feel well-rounded enough to take the fight anywhere.
Yeah, that's a huge thing to recognize. Obviously, like, that's the thing some fighters struggle with. It seems like they don't make adjustments, or they try to like force the game plan to work. But it's
right.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, that's good that you can adjust out of that, and do what you need to do, or feel like once you get in there and feel how things are going. I mean, that's an important trait to have.
I think it's very important. You're right. I mean, there are some fighters, they just get focused on the one game plan, and then they lose sight of, and then they kick themselves in the butt later when they're watching the fight, and they're like, dang, if I had just done this and this and this,
Yeah, that's huge. That really is. I don't know. I mean, I'm excited for the fight. I'm excited to see you get back in there. I mean, obviously, it's been a little while. I mean, since your last fight, I think you turned some heads with the last fight. Like you were just talking about that Macedo win, and then of course another big fight to close out the year would be another big feather in your cap heading into 2019. Getting a win over Jessica Rose Clark. Do you think that'll put you on that short list for a title shot next year?
I mean, it'll help get me there, but I mean, she's ranked like number 9, so I mean, like, if I get a win, it'll move me into the top 10. But there's still other females, that I'm gonna have to get through before I get that opportunity. So, but that means that I'm on the right track. I just got to keep winning, and I don't want a title shot anytime soon with the contract that I'm on right now. I want to be able to renegotiate my contract for the title shot.
Gotcha.
So I think I'd like to just hold off a little bit.
Gotcha. Well, thank you. Definitely thank you for joining us, Andrea. Can we get you like maybe a week before you fight and try to get rid of our technical difficulties so we can get you on the Skype and all that?
Of course you can. We can try again.
Okay, we'll catch you like after Thanksgiving, like that week or two before, that little window before you go into I'm gonna beat somebody's ass mode. Because we don't want you going off on us.
Of course, yeah. Just reach back out to me, text me, and we'll get it set up. Okay.
All right, appreciate that. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, guys. Y'all take care.
All right. Please welcome to the Slip and Dip podcast. A very special guest. Been trying to get this man on. One of the most talented. He's changing the game for a way MMA's being covered. You've seen his work on Anatomy of a Fighter. Mr. Anatomy of a Fighter himself, the owner, one-man band, the Will Harris.
What's up, fellas? What's going on, Slip and Dip?
What's up, man? Appreciate you coming on, man. I know you hard man to catch. Give some insight.
Well, right now I'm recovering, man. I feel like the MMA world is still on the high from UFC 229, and I'm kind of in the transition of moving back to Florida in a couple days. So I got done with that, and now I'm like, got moving trucks coming tomorrow. So it's been a hectic week for me, and moving is never fun, but it's time to go back to the beach.
Gotcha. Give some insight. What from your perspective, from fight week to the stuff after the main event? What is your perspective of all the craziness that happened that is UFC 229 that'll go down in one of the top 2 or 3 game-changing weeks of this company's history?
Well, you got to understand, like, I'm the guy that captured Conor throwing a dolly through the bus.
Yeah.
So it started back in April. So I knew it was personal then. You know, from April, I went to Dagestan, you know, and I was with Khabib, and, you know, I got to know him as a person. You know, I really didn't know Khabib even when I shot him at UFC 223 when I met you, Kendrick. And you know, I got to know him a little bit, but, you know, during fight week, Khabib got a crew. You know, it's 30, 40 people, so you can't really get to know somebody. So I was blessed to be able to go to Dagestan, and I kind of understood what Khabib meant about legacy. Legacy was important to him. So I feel like this week and all the things that led up just culminated to, you know, what it was. And, you know, obviously the press conference last month was just a nail in the coffin when it came to, you know, fight week. I knew something like that might happen.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy, man, because it was like you would think, like, at least from my perspective, you would think, hey, smashing the guy for 4 rounds would probably put an end to it. You know, might want to squash a little bit of it. Like, I mean, from my perspective, I'm like, okay, if you still had all that energy to go hop out the cage and jump in the crowd, why'd you make him tap out? Like, why not just ground and pound him until he literally can't respond anymore? You know?
Well, yeah, I'm not a fighter, but you know, I've been around the sport now for about almost 2 years, and from what I know, that Kimura attempt he had on him, like how he had Michael Jackson, I think he was trying to tear that bitch off.
Right.
And if there was enough time left, he probably would have tore it off. But you got to understand, if you go back and look at the fight, Herb Dean had to get Khabib off of him. Like, Herb Dean had to push him away. So it's adrenaline, man. I can't, listen, one thing I will never, because I see fans always get mad at me because I can be a troll myself, especially when you're on the winning side of history. It's nothing better. Listen, I could be filming Khabib all week, and then he could have went out there and got KO'd in 20 seconds, and then all them episodes, people was writing crazy comments. Now they can't say shit. So the thing about it is, I don't know, man. It's personal, man. And one thing that I know from the Dagestan Chronicles is that culture is everything to them. Family is everything, man. I went to those mountains and those cliffs that Conor tried to joke about, talking about your family, your peoples ran to the cliffs. You know, you gotta understand what religious persecution and things like that was going on back then. Like, you can't joke with stuff like that. I seen the hospitality of these people. So when you disrespect those people, you disrespecting the whole culture, and you got to get locked in the cage with me, man. And I honestly, I don't know what went on after the fight. Like, obviously, you see the replays with Dylan Dennis saying something, but you egging on somebody that has defeated your boss. You know, so, you know, who knows what Khabib would have did? He jumped out of the crowd, but they could have just gotten each other face. I think it was a crazy, unfortunate incident. I'm not gonna defend Khabib on the situation, but I understand it. You know.
Yeah. Well, tell people, like, we talked about this when we first met, that people don't know that Conor's kind of about the life because he got money, aka like Floyd's about the life, but Khabib's really about that life. And like people, one thing that I appreciate today that he gets it, but it's like a lot of people that cover this sport don't get it. They like, oh, there's no honor in doing that. You messed up your moment. Like, this real life shit.
Yeah, it's personal. Anytime first of all, one thing I know about Khabib is his father is everything. And I didn't have a father growing up, you know, like, and I was able to accomplish everything, go to college on a basketball scholarship, play professional basketball, and amount to a lot of things without a father. And I always joke and say, I can't imagine if I had a father that was pushing me, that molded me into the man I am. And I feel like a lot of great men that I know that have fathers, their fathers mean everything to them. Obviously, their mothers as well. But Abdul Manat is a man of principle and culture. And I was spent time with him while I was in Dagestan. And to say something about that man's father was, you know, I don't understand how Khabib was so calm, but, you know, being around him, I understand why he is the way he is. And that was just a moment, man. That was a lapse in judgment. And, you know, luckily nobody got hurt. Luckily it wasn't a Micah Chiesa situation where somebody bleeding or, you know, like, you know, think about it, man. I was standing right there when the dolly came through the window. That thing could have hit me, and you never know if you're not paying attention. That big ass dolly hits you and you get me.
Yeah.
I know one thing. I would have been driving the most Lamborghini Aventador though. If that thing would have hit me.
Do you think it helped your reaction because you were filming in the moment? Like you were trying to capture it all?
Well, no, I just was. I seen Connor before everybody else. I seen this big ass head, and I said I'm gonna just follow him around with the camera. And when I seen him pick up the dolly, I said I'm just not gonna move because two things. I'm not one of those people that's ever like, oh, I want to sue somebody. But I'm like, if this shit hit me and hurt me, I'm rich. Shit, I was waiting for this moment. I thought I was gonna have to meet a sugar mama or something in my life, and both would talk.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that's such a crazy moment, man. Such a crazy moment. And then like the angles you got. I know you're tweeting out the other day, and I hit you on Twitter about the countdown show, the Bad Blood show. They were using clips and everything like that of your work throughout it. And it was kind of weird how they were crediting like that entire video. It was weird.
Well, in hindsight, it's easy to say, to look at the promotion they use with a lot of my footage, and they spent so much money promoting the fight.
Yeah.
And I didn't get anything from that.
Right.
But I also got access. And I feel like, sometimes you got to look at it like, do you want some change or do you want this opportunity to be a part of history? And looking back on it, I could be bummed about it because I'm like, man, a lot of people made money except me. You know what I'm saying? And that's the thing in this culture when you're a journalist, when you're a filmmaker, when you're a podcaster, you try to support yourself and make a living. And obviously there's tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars that I missed out on. 100%.
Oh, for sure. I mean, that's the thing. Like you're saying about this game, people are wanting to pay you in other ways other than the actual thing that counts in the bank. Like I get that. I've gotten that a couple of times as being a journalist. Be like, oh, well, we can get you into this and this and this.
Nah, that ain't. I got a car payment, man.
Yeah, like I do some freelance art as well, and like that's the thing. Like I get that all the time, man. It's
man.
Oh man, I'll get you some exposure to this. Like, nah, that's not gonna be cool with the electric company. You know what I'm saying? Like, so. And
I think Drake got that good line, and he said, "I did all the favors." He said, "I did all the favors, and they never repaid me," or something like that. Where I feel like you got to understand. Like I started Anatomy of a Fighter last August at the end of the month, so it's been about 13 and a half months since I even created the channel. And my number one goal was because I had friends that were YouTubers, and I saw their numbers, and I was like, I seen the grind to get to 100,000, so that was like a personal goal. Like I need to get to 100,000. I knew people. It takes 2, 3, 4 years to get that type of thing. But me knowing the industry that I was in and the content that I knew I would produce, I was like, that was the goal. I wanted to try to get to it by this upcoming January, something like that. I thought it would take a little bit longer than what I did, but luckily. Think about it. I was a part of some key moments in history that was able to ramp up the attention to my channel. And, you just let your work do the talking. A lot of people wonder why I'm never in my videos or I'm never doing I'm not Ariel Hawani or somebody where I'm trying to be on camera.
Right.
I created Anatomy of a Fighter for one reason. I felt, and no disrespect to UFC, Bellator, whatever leagues that I saw, they didn't do no promotion for fighters. And I get it. I mean, some of these guys are making 10 and 10, 15 and 15, show and win. Why would we spend $30,000 camera crew to go film him?
Right.
So I saw opening, the passion. I don't do anything unless I have passion. And if I got bored with Anatomy of a Fighter one day, it wouldn't exist no more. It's that simple. I'm that anal about things that I love. I'll fucking go do Anatomy of the NBA. So
put me on that project, brother.
Yeah. So, obviously with what I'm doing, boxing is next. Boxing is my number one sport for me. Like that's me. I'm all boxing. I saw T-Bud yesterday, and I could have been a part of that. I know people connected to Terrence Crawford. And I was pissed because I'm thinking like, I love all these guys that I see on these boxing pages. I respect their hustle because I know how hard it is now that I'm on the MMA side just to get access, just to get credentials, them to cut you off, tell you you can't go to a certain place. And I'm sitting there thinking like, I have the #1 content-based channel on earth. There's nothing else like Anatomy of a Fighter on the planet.
Yeah, because the UFC don't even credential YouTube channels, so you a nominee on your own, and you look like being Matt.
Hey, it's all about the goods, though. You bring the goods, man, and that's one of the things we noticed right off the bat, man. Like the very first time I saw Anatomy of a Fighter, I was like, okay, this is like embedded but more personal. You know, it's like.
It was like a hybrid. It's like, obviously, we know what the best show ever is. That was 24/7, HBO 24/7.
Of course.
I don't have the narration part because I don't have some eloquent guy speaking over the footage. But that was the personal side of what I like, especially when you remember the first one, De La Hoya Mayweather. I remember visually De La Hoya wife riding on the little bike, mocking Mayweather, like the creative stuff. Like, and I think it was the Canelo. It was one recent. It was Canelo and somebody that was epic.
Triple G.
I think it was the first one, and I was just like, you got to understand that's big $100 million budget stuff. Yeah. So that created a challenge in me to go buy a Red Epic Dragon. I want those cameras, right?
Yeah.
I can't afford to do that. But at the same time, I looked at it, and because I went to film school, and I literally was taught that, like, be able to tell a story with the tools that you have. It doesn't matter what you own. So for me, obviously, I have an amazing cinema camera, but I feel like I can film anything because journalism, musicians, storytelling, interviews, that's a skill set that people, I think everybody think they can do that. Like, everybody think they can buy a camera and become a vlogger and go to an event. No, you have to have a skill set. You got to know, oh shit, he walking this way, I'm gonna beat him at this way. I'm gonna be at this angle, I'm gonna catch him. Like, it's certain things, and that's just being a vlogger, not a filmmaker. You see what I'm saying? So, you know, putting music and storylines and titling and making stuff make sense from beginning to end, knowing how to tell a story with continuity, that stuff is important. And I feel like for me, it was all about the fighters, man. I know these fighters, a lot of these fighters can't afford to pay me to film their fight weeks. So I was like, you know what? Hopefully I can build this to a big enough brand where I can benefit from just the channel and the revenue, and I can just survive off of just helping these people get access, because I'm worth a lot of fucking money, and I know that. So
that's how you really feel.
No, listen, it's like y'all. When y'all build this podcast, y'all put 2-3 years into it. I know I put my life and soul into this. I know how much I'm worth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's how you got to feel. Like, and it's nothing being modest about it. Like, I hate the whole, like, stay humble or, no, like, I'm lucky to meet the right people. Like, obviously, like, meeting Ali Abdelaziz, I met him through Rashad Evans last year. You know, I moved to Vegas myself last year because I just wanted to try to get closer to the UFC industry. And I moved myself out here last summer during the Mayweather-McGregor whole summer. And I didn't know Ali at the time. You know, Rashad Evans was just like, you know, you need to meet my guy Ali. He got a crazy story. His life story is crazy. And I connected with Ali. And I think the first thing I ever filmed with it was something with Renzo Gracie. But they was able to see, they was able to see my production and how fast it was. And I think once they saw that and they realized, like, damn, we can get this quality this fast, we created a relationship off that. So I'm definitely grateful for Ali. Ali is like my big brother, and he's annoying as hell, and I hope he see this. He's annoying. But at the same time, his heart is in a good place, and he wants to see everybody do well, man. That's a part of him. You know, definitely, I wouldn't say that's a bridge to burn in this sport at this moment, but that's just sort of like saying, oh, don't burn your bridge with Oscar or Eddie Hearn or, you know, Al Heyman or something like that, because they can just cut your faucet off like a motherfucker. But I don't feel like nobody can do that to me, because I believe storytelling is pure. And if I'm telling the story, like, this is what I understand. Like, some people get mad at me. Ariel Hottie can interview John Kavanaugh the other day, talk about the Conor incident. Then he can interview Ali. They two opposite people that really don't like each other. Why the fuck I can't film Conor and Khabib at the same time?
Right.
Like I hate that. That's the one thing I do hate because I feel like I don't want to be biased, and I understand when you build a friendship, like my friendship with Kamaru Usman, Michael Johnson, those are my brothers. I am biased towards them. I want them to win every time. I want Khabib to win every time. But at the same time, even though I'm with Team Khabib, I still can go film Conor, and they know that I'm still with them, but I'm telling the story because the UFC Embedded is doing it.
Oh, no, but tell me this, just in general, because you got a professional background, you've been around NBA. What do you think about the way to cover this sport? It's like they want to say it's professional, but yet the shit that go on, you can't do that shit in the NFL, you can't do that shit in the NBA, and these multi-billion-dollar conglomerates, so they know what the fuck they're talking about.
Well, this is the difference, Kendrick. How much is Jerry Jones worth?
$5 billion.
Billions, right? He's worth billions. How much is Mark Cuban worth? Billions. So you have 27, 25, 30 owners that are all billionaires. It's a totally different sport. You got a company just worth $1 billion. You see what I'm saying? They don't operate like that. Everybody got power in the NBA and the NFL, like these owners, these players. These fighters don't have power like that yet. Conor do. Shit, Conor was with Jerry Jones popping
today
12. He was like this. He was in the shit. So I don't know, man. You know, honestly, I can't speak ill will on the UFC because I feel like I've never had any run-ins with Dana.
I'm not speaking ill
will. I've never had any
I'm
situations with employees. Like everybody cool, man. I like everybody at the UFC. I'm like a free employee. Like I'm promoting their company and they ain't paying me. And motherfucker, I need to get paid sooner or later.
I'm not speaking ill will. I'm just putting the facts out there.
Yeah, I mean it's 25 years old though. You know what I'm saying?
It's still very,
it's like
very young
it's
compared to all that other
a
stuff.
yeah. They still what? How long ago was it when New York finally allowed MMA into the city?
It's 2 years ago. This November 1st.
Yeah, so think about that. It ain't been that long.
Yeah, it's wild. You know, they're still pinching pennies at every turn. Versus like
look,
NBA,
Bellator going to Hawaii. They going to Hawaii finally.
Yeah, they beat the UFC out there. That's crazy.
I know that's crazy. And you got Max Holloway, who was the champion.
Yeah, and a whole host of other fighters up from out there. You know,
Dan Ige. Like it's so many fighters, man.
Yeah, it's wild. It's wild, but yeah, I mean,
interesting.
Yeah, so. What was your very first experience with the UFC? Like, what was it like to get in the door with them and start doing what you do?
Ironically, you know, RIP to Glenn Johnson.
Yeah,
not Glenn Johnson. I'm Glenn Robinson. Glenn Robinson. I was in Florida a couple years ago, and I saw where they trained, and I just stopped by because it was this girl that I was talking to that worked out at the gym. And she was like, "Oh, this is where the Black Zillions train." And I went over there. I was doing a lot of stuff with Shannon Briggs, the boxer at the time, Evander Holyfield, all those guys really both. So because I was focused on boxing, I wasn't focusing on MMA. Mm-hmm. And I went in there, showed them a video on my iPhone of something I did with Shannon Briggs. The manager of the gym sent it to Glenn Robinson. And Glenn Robinson called me like 30 minutes later. Him and Tyrone Spahn was at the office. And he just told me, he said, "Listen, I'm looking at this, the way you put this together, like you special. And I know you can do something special in this sport for the MMA." And he believed in me immediately. Like from the first day he told me, he said, "You're going to be the biggest thing in the sport." He told me that, Glenn Robinson, RIP. If it wasn't for Glenn giving me access to the Black Zillions gym, he said, "Go in there, do whatever you want, film, do whatever you want." I wouldn't even be here if it wasn't for Glenn Robinson. So from there, I met Michael Johnson, and Michael Johnson was finna fight Khabib. How ironic, right? Finna fight this undefeated fighter from Russia. At that time, I wasn't even thinking about putting it on YouTube. I just knew it was around the time where YouTube let you put stuff up for a minute. So I told Mike, pay me some money, and I will do like an episode every day, a minute-long episode, and put it on your channel on Instagram, and we'll just do that. And that's just how it started. And after I captured all that footage, I was like, damn, I can make a documentary out of this. So Anatomy of a Fighter became just this little getting paid to do something for Michael Johnson to let me do a documentary called Anatomy of a Fighter. And then I moved to Vegas last summer, and that's when I was like, Forrest Griffin was like, man, you should put some of this stuff on YouTube. So I just put a couple little boxing clips. Wasn't even nothing MMA. I put a couple boxing clips. It got like 20,000 views. I was like, shit, that was better than my rap video days doing those. So I was like, still wasn't serious. And then what happened was I kind of saw an opening, and I was just like, man, I see an opening for a lot of content. And that's just how it happened. So, yeah, going all the way back to, the Glenn Robinson, man, is believing in me, telling me how special I was going to be with this sport. And, it's easy to be like, yeah, I always knew it, bro. I was going to quit this shit last year, bro. I was here in Vegas. I was pretty much running out of money because you got to understand, I have an award-winning wedding business. I make well over 6 figures doing that. And I was using that money to fund this.
Yeah.
You don't supposed to do that. That's backwards. That's hustling backwards. You need sponsors. So last year I was trying to meet investors. I had footage out there and work so people could see the potential of it. I had a couple things fall through. A couple people lied to me, and I even made a post about it. I was just like, I'm taking a break from Anatomy of a Fighter. I took about a good 2-month break last December. Because I was just off, man. You put so much time into something and you feel like people just lying to you. And you just keep going, man. You keep going and those breakthroughs happen. And I know like October 1st of last year, I had 1,000 subscribers. Think about that.
Yeah, it's incredible growth.
October 1st of 2018, I had 100,000.
Yeah.
In 1 year.
That's crazy, man. 169 right now.
The grind is a motherfucker. Shit, that shit gonna shoot up to 200 when I release this episode tonight, the finale of the whole thing.
Yeah, I see the preview up there with DC on the thumbnail.
Yeah, and you see that? That's like 700,000 in a couple days?
Yeah, that's insane, and that's just the preview.
Trust me, when you see this final one.
Well, what time will it be out? Because we release our broadcast in the morning.
It's I'm gonna release it in the morning because it's the start of the week. It's no point to really release it.
Bro, drop the Slip and Dip podcast, drop the episode, boom.
No, what I'll do is I'll put the link to this in the description of the video and say go check out if you want to get to know. I can do that for sure.
I appreciate it.
That'll work. Yeah, man. I'm excited to see this, man, because like that story is gonna be living on for years to come, man. Like people are gonna refer to this in that whole brawl for like ages. Like people still talk about like the one Mayhem Miller had. Like that was over 2 years
remember
ago.
that?
Like
man,
insane, man, insane. So
it's I just hope they don't do. Honestly, man, I can see him fine. Khabib 10%. I get it. 200,000 out of his 2 million. He probably gonna make. He gonna make so many millions because of the pay-per-view buy. So it doesn't really matter.
yeah.
He probably got that gifted from Putin or some shit. Like he probably just gave him 2 million.
That is my next question. Does people attack you? Fact that you're in America in this Trump era with the whole Russian mafia and the Putin ties, you get attacked politically. That has nothing to do with everybody.
Not really, because I'm black.
Right.
I'm a black. Think about it. I'm a black filmmaker in a white sport.
Yeah. Yeah.
So think about it. I'm not Muslim. I'm not Christian. I'm a spiritual guy. I believe in a higher power. I pray, but I'm not, a part of any religious group. Cool. I'm a good guy, man. Like if somebody want to judge me because I'm not one or the other, like I could give a hell less. You got to think, Khabib and them invited me into his country, and I'm not even Muslim. So that speaks volumes about who he is as a person. But I think it all goes down to like what you truly stand for in life, man. And I feel like it's not about black and white. It's not about nothing political party. It's about just how you are as a person. And I feel like I'm a good person for this sport. And I feel like I'm valuable for this sport. I feel like if I ever got ostracized out of the UFC or the MMA world, that's their loss. And I joke about it too. Like, because I always try to tell people, I do realize there's another sport called boxing that's just way more fun and more popular in my eyes. So I never want to ever get it to a point where I feel like the sport has pushed me away from telling the stories of these fighters, right? I don't want I don't want this team mad because I'm over here with this team. If it gets to that point, I'm gonna just remove myself from anybody. I'm not on nobody payroll. Now, motherfucker want to give me 20 racks a month? Shit, I'm team whatever. Only your fighters, right? But I'm not about to, if I want to go to Jackson Winks MMA, if I want to go to Hard Knocks 365, if I want to go to TriStar in Canada, if I want to go to AKA, if I want to go to fucking the lab in Phoenix, I'm going to go wherever I want to go. You know why? Because it's about the fighters. It's not about coaches. It's not about managers. It's not about the UFC. It's about the fighters. These guys that barely can pay their fucking rent or don't have a car or don't got no food to keep the protein in their body just to get prepared for a fight because they can't find no sponsors. Like, I want to build anatomy of a fighter to the point where I'm making enough money. I see the Ray Borg situation and I pay for the medical bills. Like, that's what I want to do. Like, and I truly believe it. Because listen, this brand is worth millions of dollars. Ain't nobody gonna tell me not. It's worth millions. My skill set is worth millions. Because you gotta first know what your value is first. Because then nobody can tell you what you worth, right?
Yeah, so true.
Think about this. I just read a stat. It said that advertisers on YouTube, big advertisers, when we watch the videos, to get about 100,000 real viewers, they spend about $20,000 per ad to get 100,000 viewers. I just posted a video a day and a half ago that got 700,000 views. Now, if I put an ad at the end of that video, how much fucking money you think that's worth to get 700,000 people to watch the end of that video?
Pretty penny. Especially for I mean, hey, this stuff adds up too, man. It adds up quick, especially on these YouTube videos or these YouTube channels rather, that get all these views, and like that's what your channel is turning into, man. Like, I could see within the next year, like, if you're not in the middle, I don't know why not, because everything I've heard and how I see it, you know, from other YouTubers, they're like, once you hit certain thresholds, it seems like automatically like your numbers just start.
It flies. It really does. Think about this. It took me 12 and a half months to get to 100,000. I might hit another 100 by the end of October.
Right.
Dang, it's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy when you think about it. And it's not about numbers to me. The only thing that it was about was that silver play button. I really just wanted that, right? I just wanted that because I knew the next one was at $1 million, so that's hard as hell to get.
Yeah.
So it showed, because, you know, it's a lot of people out here with 100,000 subscribers, and I know they fake. So at the same time, it's like I took pride in that. I didn't want to pay for a marketing company because I didn't know what kind of fugazi shit they might be on, and you get fake views and fake subscribers. All of a sudden, you got 4,000 subscribers. You wake up 2 days later, you got 25. You think, hold on, that's not real.
Yeah.
So for me, I didn't want to do that, man. I wanted to be organic. I have friends that got millions. I got like little YouTuber guys I know that got 3 million subscribers, making 70,000 a month on YouTube. Yes, they could get people to subscribe to my channel, but they're not gonna watch the content. So what's the point of getting people to follow me for no reason? Yeah. So you got to be smart about all this stuff, man. It's a fucking grind, and it's certain little points in life that push you a little bit further. It's like you got like
push the camera off.
That was the energy. Yeah. It's certain things in life that push you forward, and I feel like I got lucky, man. And honestly, man, I got good relationships with guys like Mike Perry, Kamal Usman, and they shit, you know, especially Mike Perry. He talk a lot of shit online. Like he was trolling the whole week for Conor Khabib, and you know, like we got guys like Ali, they mad at him, and I'm like, nah, man, Mike Perry, good dude. He playing around. He's not serious. Like, you know, I think the whole "where is Noah" thing, Kamal Usman told me, it was like Ali should have embraced that, because it became so annoying that if Ali would have just wore a shirt in the episode that says "where is Noah," that would have killed it. So many people would have wanted to buy that shit. Oh my God, man, that's the business side of me. I'm thinking like, just wear a Where's Noah t-shirt in the episode. People would be like, man, where can I get that shirt?
Well, this is my last question for me. Like you always got the eye for marketing, and you saw the fight when Habib was like, "You want to talk down?" and was like, whooping up on Connor's ass. At the end, he goes, "Hey man, it's just business." I said this last week, and people have been hitting me up on social media. It's like it was a big joke, but Habib didn't get the joke.
Are you talking about
the lead up and stuff? You disappeared on us, brother.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. Can you see me?
Yeah, you good.
No, that was personal, and I feel like Connor wrote a check that his ass couldn't cash, and that's just is what it is. And honestly, listen, man, it's fucked up because I like Connor, right? Everybody like Connor. His notorious. I'm a filmmaker. His Notorious documentary is some award-winning shit. Yeah, awesome. I see that man have an eviction notice in that film. Living in his parents' crib upstairs, and him and D. Devlin are laughing and giggling about fuck it, we'll figure it out. Like that's some inspiring shit. I seen them talk about we barely got gloves to train in. So for me to sit here and yes, you are on the other side, brother. I'm Team Khabib all the way. I'm gonna ride with Khabib with this. But at the same time, for me to act like I don't like somebody is fucking fake.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
I want to become a conglomerate business guy. This dude flying out, and listen, I'm the ultimate troll all week. I've been going crazy on Connor. I met Connor and them before I ever met Ali and them last year. I was here filming them here in Vegas last year. Oren Roddy and them invited me to their crib where they were staying. You see what I'm saying? Like, yeah. So it's a fucked up situation that I'm stuck in, right? But that's life.
Yeah, man. So are you gonna be heading out to New York
for 2:30?
Yeah, for 2:30.
Yeah, man. What I'm going to do, I know for sure, is I'm thinking about going to Canada since my man Michael Johnson has got on to he's fighting Artem.
He's fighting Artem?
Yes, they just announced it. It's all on Twitter.
I missed that. Oh wow, I missed that.
Breaking news. Breaking news.
Okay.
Yeah, Artem Lowball versus Michael Johnson.
Very cool.
Think about that. When you think about it, Michael Johnson, the only person that supposedly rattled Khabib. Ain't that crazy when you think about all his fights?
Yeah, I mean he did. That's the one moment everybody talks about. Like,
I know, and
like Michael Johnson did. We never know.
That's crazy when you think about that. That's why when they showed the top 5 the other day, it was Conor, Khabib, Dustin Poirier. It was Conor, Khabib, Dustin Poirier,
Eddie
Kevin
Alvarez.
Lee, and then who else? Who else in that? Who?
Eddie Alvarez.
Ferguson.
Yeah, my bad. Yeah, my bad, Tony.
And I'm like, damn. Khabib only been challenged during the Michael Johnson fight, a moment of that fight, and he beat Tony Ferguson and he beat Dustin Poirier. He knocked him out. That's why I'm like, damn, Mike, did you go down to 145 too soon, bro? I truly believe you still at the top of the division.
Yeah.
So,
for sure.
It's crazy how life works, man. We all end up in the places we need to be for a reason.
Absolutely, man. And like I said, man, we've been enjoying your content, man. We can't wait for the next project to hit the airwaves, man, or hit the YouTubes. I'm a fan of your work, man. So keep it coming, and thanks for coming on the show, man. We do appreciate
it, man.
I appreciate y'all, brothers, man. I wish y'all much success in what y'all doing, man. Anytime I can help y'all, I definitely will. Kendrick, I'm not putting no interview guys on my channel, man. So quit asking me. It's all about them.
It's all about.
But hey, cross promotion is the best way to grow this sport, man. Boxing, and I feel like we are the catalyst of growing the sport. Like our passion, our energy. We doing this shit when we not really making no money doing it. You know, like I said, like luckily for me, I'm able to survive doing other projects, and now I'm starting to see some residuals of the hard work that I put into it. But at the same time, we are the people that keep moving the needle and forward and getting the casuals that don't know nothing about the sport to really latch on. So salute to y'all brothers, man, and Godspeed to success.
Hey, much respect to you, and we definitely appreciate the uncut, raw truth. Keeping it real, keep it 100.
Hey, my Tinder profile is no, I'm just kidding.
All right, we gotta let you go now, bro. You're getting out there a little bit.
I'll holler at y'all, brothers.
All right,
All right, take it easy.
All right, see you, man. Peace.